The alien city glowed like a giant jewel in the dark sky, its towers reaching so high they disappeared into the mist. Streets were alive with colors, strange music, and creatures Jack had never seen before. He walked slowly, his boots clicking. On the shining metal road, his eyes scanning every corner. This was his first mission alone on an alien world, and he knew one wrong step could mean trouble. Jack kept to the quieter paths, away from the busy market. He had been told this city was safe for humans, but the way some aliens stared at him made him doubt that. He could feel their eyes following him, their whispers in a language he could not understand. He adjusted the strap of his small pack and kept walking, acting as if nothing bothered him. The air smelled faintly of spice and metal, and somewhere far away, a deep drum beat echoed like a heartbeat. Jack reached a narrow alley lit by floating lights. He hesitated for a moment, then stepped inside, thinking it would be a shortcut to his assigned quarters. He had only taken 3 steps when it happened. Sudden force slammed him against the cold wall, hard enough to knock the breath from his chest. His hands instinctively went to his sidearm, but before he could draw it, a strong hand gripped his wrist and pushed it away. Standing in front of him was a woman, or at least something close to one. Her skin was pale with a faint silver shimmer, and her eyes glowed softly like moonlight on water. Her long hair flowed around her shoulders, strands catching the light like threads of starlight. She was taller than him by half a head, and her presence filled the narrow alley like a storm. She leaned in so close he could feel her breath on his face. Her voice was low but sharp, every word like a blade. "Don't you dare love anyone else." Jack froze. He didn't know her. He had never even seen her before. And yet her tone carried the weight of something final, something dangerous. "I think you've got the wrong person," he said carefully, keeping his eyes on hers. Her fingers tightened around his wrist. "No human. I know exactly who you are." Jack tried to pull back, but she stepped even closer, trapping him between her body and the wall. Her gaze never wavered, and for a moment he felt like she could see every thought in his head. "Why?" he asked, his voice low. "Why? Say that to me." Her lips curved out, quite a smile, not quite a threat. "Because from this moment on, you belong to me." No. Jack's heart pounded. This was insane. He had been in the city for less than a day, and now an alien woman was claiming him like property. He opened his mouth to argue, but movement at the far end of the alley caught his eye. 3 figures in dark armor. It's moving fast, their weapons low but ready. The woman saw them too. Her hand left his wrist and grabbed his shirt. "Come with me," she ordered. "I'm not going anywhere with you," Jack said. But before he could finish, she pulled him toward the wall. To his shock, the wall shifted and opened like water, revealing a narrow passage lit by a soft blue glow. She dragged him inside, the wall closing behind them without a sound. The noise of the city vanished, replaced by the hum of hidden machines. "What is this place?" Jack asked, glancing around. The walls were smooth and alive with faint patterns, as if they were breathing. "A safe path," she said, "for now." Didn't like the way she said it, "for now." They moved quickly through twisting corridors. Jack noticed strange symbols on the walls, each glowing briefly as they passed. The air here was warmer, carrying a scent he couldn't place, something sweet but with a sharp edge, like it could burn if breathed too deeply. Finally, they stopped at a small circular chamber. The floor shifted under Jack's feet, and he realized they were standing on a moving platform. Slowly it began to sink. Jack crossed his arms. "You want to tell me what's going on? Because right now I'm wondering if I just got kidnapped." Her glowing eyes locked on his again. "Kidnapped? No. Chosen, yes." Jack stared at her. "Chosen for what?" She tilted her head slightly, studying him. "For me." He took a step back, but there was nowhere to go. The platform sank lower, light fading until only her eyes glowed in the darkness. "You don't even know my name," Jack said. "I know enough," she replied, her voice softer now, almost like a whisper meant only for him. "And soon, you will know why you can never love another." Before Jack could respond, the platform stopped with a gentle thud. A hidden door slid open, revealing a place unlike anything he had seen before. Walls of silver crystal, a floor that glowed faintly under his boots, and in the center, a tall structure that pulsed with light like a beating heart. She stepped out first, turning to look at him over her shoulder. "Welcome to the place where your life changes forever." Jack followed, his mind full of questions and his heart pounding with a mix of fear and curiosity. He had no idea what he had just stepped into, but he knew one thing for certain. There was no turning back now. The crystal chamber seemed alive, its silver walls humming with a low vibration Jack could feel in his bones. Strange lights pulsed in slow rhythms, casting shifting patterns on the floor. The air was warm here, but it carried a weight, as if the place itself was watching him. The alien woman Lyra walked ahead with a steady, almost regal pace. She didn't need to tell him to follow, there was nowhere else to go. Jack's instincts told him he was far beneath the surface now, in a place not meant for outsiders. He kept his voice calm, but firm. "Right, Lyra, that's even your name. You're going to explain what's going on?" She stopped in front of the glowing heart-like structure in the middle of the chamber. It pulsed brighter at her presence, the rhythm matching the slow beat of a drum. Turning to face him, she placed a hand over the crystal surface. "This is the binding core," she said softly, as if speaking too loud would wake something ancient. "It remembers every bond ever made between my kind and yours." Jack frowned. "Bonds? I've never even been here before today." Her silver eyes met his, unblinking. "Your world may have forgotten, but mine hasn't. Humans and my people once shared a rare connection, a link of mind and heart. When one of us chooses, the bond is for life. No other can take you without starting a blood war." Jack shook his head. "You're telling me you've just chosen me? Just like that?" Her lips curved slightly, but there was no humor in it. "Not just like that. I have watched you before." It sent a chill down his spine. "When, years ago," she said, her voice carrying a strange mix of pride and sadness, "during the Battle of Klyros, you saved 3 of our young from fire and steel. I never forgot the human who stood in the flames without fear." Jack searched his memory. There had been so many missions, so many faces, but something in her tone made him believe she was telling the truth. Still, the idea was insane. You can't just claim someone like a reprise. Her eyes flashed, and she stepped closer. "This is not a claim, Jack. This is a vow. My vow. And now whether you wish it or not, you are bound to me." Before he could argue, the crystal under her hand flared with blinding light. Jack felt heat rush through his chest, followed by a sharp pull deep inside his mind. It was as if invisible threads had been tied between them, each one humming with strange energy. He staggered back, gripping his head. "What did you just do, Lyris?" The voice was calm, but there was a hint of urgency. "I sealed our bond. Now anyone who tries to touch you will face me and the law of my people." A sudden sound echoed through the chamber, the low thrum of heavy boots on metal. Lyra's expression shifted, tension tightening her jaw. "They found us," she said. Jack glanced toward the far wall as a section began to slide open, revealing a shadowed corridor and the faint outlines of armed soldiers. Lyra grabbed his hand, her grip firm, almost desperate. "Stay close. They will not take you from me," he wanted to protest, but something deep in his chest ached at the thought of letting go of her hand. Whether it was the bond or his own instinct, he didn't know. They ran together through a narrow side passage, the hum of the binding core fading behind them. Lights flashed red along the walls, as if the chamber itself was warning them. Jack could hear the soldiers shouting orders in their alien tongue, the sound of weapons charging. As they reached a spiraling ramp, Lyra glanced over her shoulder. "If they catch us, they will separate us, and the bond will drive us both too." Madness. "Do you understand now, human? This is more than choice, it is survival." Jack's breath came in sharp bursts as they climbed higher. "I don't understand any of this," he said, "but I get one thing: you're not letting go." Her gaze met his for a brief moment, and in that instant, under the strange glow of the alien lights, Jack realized something. There was no fear in her eyes. It was only determination, fierce and unyielding, as if she had decided long ago that nothing in the galaxy would take him from her. The sound of pursuit grew louder. but so did Jack's resolve. Whatever he had just stepped into, it was no longer about mission orders. It was about surviving alongside her, and for reasons he couldn't explain. He found himself wanting to. The spiraling ramp ended at a narrow doorway carved into solid crystal. Lyra pressed her palm against a small panel, and the door opened with a low musical hum. Inside, the air felt heavier, as if the room held centuries of secrets. The chamber was circular, its walls lined with tall silver tablets. Each tablet shimmered faintly, covered in glowing alien script that moved and changed like living ink. At the center of the room stood a round pedestal, holding a single transparent sphere that pulsed with a steady, golden light. Jack stepped inside cautiously, his eyes scanning the strange symbols. "What is this place?" Lyra closed the door behind them and walked to the pedestal. "This is the Hall of the Law," she said, her voice steady but low. "Here, every vow, every union, every bond ever made between my people and yours is recorded. It is a place outsiders are never meant to see." Jack moved closer, curiosity pushing aside caution. "And you brought me here because—" her fingers hovered over the golden sphere. "Because once you understand the law, you will understand why I pushed you against that wall and why I can never let you go." The sphere brightened as her hand touched it. A swirl of golden light rose into the air, forming an image above them. Jack saw alien figures, tall and graceful like Lyra's people, standing beside humans in ancient armor. Between them floated glowing threads, each thread linking pairs together. "This is the bond of the heart," Lyra explained. "It is more than a promise. It is a binding recognized by the High Council itself. When one of my kind chooses a human, no other can touch them without breaking the law. And the punishment for breaking the law," she paused, her eyes locking on his, "is war." Jack blinked. "You're telling me an entire war could start if someone tries to take me from you?" "Yes," she said simply, "because the bond is sacred. It is rare, and when it is broken, blood is spilled until the bond is avenged." Jack let out a slow breath, his mind racing. "You make it sound like this has happened before?" Lyra turned toward one of the tall tablets. With a wave of her hand, the glowing script shifted, revealing an image of an alien woman standing beside a human man, both wearing battle armor, their hands joined. "It has happened many times," she said. "Each time, the human and the chosen stood together. And each time, they either triumphed or died as one." Jack stared at the image, feeling a strange pull in his chest. "And you're saying, I'm one of these now?" She stepped closer, her voice quiet but firm. "You are. From the moment I chose you, the law recognized us. Even my father cannot undo it." "But he'll try, won't he?" Her jaw tightened. "He already is. The guards who chased us, they were not after me.
After me.
They were after you. If they can take you and hide you away, the bond will weaken, and I will be forced into the marriage he arranged." Jack shook his head, trying to piece it all together. "So I'm not just a stranger to you. You've been planning this." Her silver eyes softened, though her voice stayed steady. "Planning, yes, but not because of politics. I chose you because I know what you are capable of, and because I will not live my life bound to someone I do not love." He opened his mouth to answer, but before he could speak, a sharp alarm blared through the chamber. The golden sphere dimmed, and the glowing script on the walls began to flicker. Lyra's eyes narrowed. They found this place. A deep rumble shook the floor, dust falling from the high ceiling. Jack felt the vibration in his bones, the unmistakable rhythm of heavy boots marching in. Lyra grabbed his hand again, her grip almost fierce. "We have to move. Once they step inside this hall, they'll erase your name from the land without the law to protect us. You'll be just another human they can throw away." Jack's pulse quickened, and without another word, he followed her toward a hidden archway behind one of the silver tablets. As they stepped through, the golden light of the hall faded behind them, and a cold realization hit him. He was now part of something far bigger than himself, bound by an alien law that could start a war, and hunted by people who would rather kill him than see him by her side. The hidden passage was narrow and sloped upward, the walls made of the same living crystal that seemed to pulse faintly with light. Jack could hear the sound of pursuit growing closer, the steady rhythm of boots, the low crackle of charged weapons. Lyra moved quickly, her grip on his hand never loosening, her posture tense like a predator ready to fight at the end of the passage. They emerged into a high balcony overlooking the alien city. From here, Jack could see the shimmering towers and the winding streets far below, glowing like rivers of light. But what caught his eye was the group of soldiers moving with precision, blocking the exits one by one. They're closing in, Jack said. Lyra's eyes scanned the streets, her jaw set. My father will not stop until he has you out of the city. If he controls you, he controls me. Jack frowned. Why not just tell him no? You're his daughter. Can't you refuse? Voice was quiet, but her words carried weight. Among my people, a refusal means nothing if power is at stake. My father's word is law, but even he cannot break the bond of the heart. That is why he must erase it by taking you away before it fully seals. Jack's mind raced. And if he erases it, Lyra cut him off. Then I will be forced into a marriage that will unite to rival houses, and you. She looked at him for a long moment. You will simply vanish. A flash of movement below caught Jack's attention. More soldiers had arrived, and with them came a figure in black ceremonial armor. Tall and broad-shouldered, carrying a long silver staff tipped with a glowing blade. The sight made Lyra tense. That's Kareth, she said, her voice low. My father's enforcer. He obeys without question. If he reaches us, he will not speak. He will not listen. He will only take you. Jack felt a surge of adrenaline. Then we don't give him the chance. Lyra nodded once, then pulled him toward a narrow metal bridge that connected the balcony to a distant tower. The bridge swayed slightly with each step, the wind cold and sharp against their faces. Halfway across, a blaster shot rang out, the beam slicing past Jack's shoulder. Go, Lyra shouted, pushing him ahead. Jack ran, the sound of more shots following. When they reached the far side, Lyra slammed her hand on a control panel, and the bridge retracted behind them with a grinding roar, cutting off their pursuers for now. They entered the tower, its interior dim and filled with the smell of old metal. Stairs spiraled down into darkness, lit only by faint strips along the walls. Jack followed Lyra down until they reached a wide hall lined with tall doors. Each door had an alien crest etched into it, glowing faintly in the shadows. This is the old district, Lyra said. No one lives here now, too close to the outer wall. Jack glanced around. That sounds like an advantage. It is, but it also means there's nowhere to hide for long. They stopped in front of a heavy door, and Lyra placed her palm on the lock. It hissed open, revealing a small chamber lit by a single blue lantern. Inside was a round table covered in maps, strange devices, and a long, curved blade that seemed to hum faintly. Lyra closed the door and faced him. We will not outrun them forever. Sooner or later, my father will send the order to take you by force. If that happens, there will be no more running-only fighting. Jack's eyes went to the blade. You're saying we stand and fight? She stepped closer, her voice steady. If you stay, you fight with me. If you leave, you will never see me again. Jack felt the weight of the choice pressing on him. He had come here as a soldier on a mission, but now the mission had changed. It was no longer about orders or diplomacy. It was about survival, about protecting someone who had risked everything for him. Before he could answer, the distant sound of metal being cut reached their ears. Lyra's gaze sharpened. They found us. The blue lantern flickered as heavy footsteps echoed down the hall. Lyra picked up the curved blade, its silver edge catching the dim light. Stay behind me, Jack, until the moment comes when you cannot. Jack reached for the small sidearm at his belt, his pulse steady but strong. The danger was no longer just growing, it was here. The door shook under the force of a heavy strike, metal groaning as if it would split in two. Lyra's eyes locked with Jack's for a single heartbeat, and she moved fast and silent, positioning herself between him and the danger. The curved blade in her hand shimmered, its edge glowing faintly like captured lightning. The second strike came harder, and the lock gave way. The door burst open, revealing 2 armored soldiers and Kareth, his black ceremonial armor gleaming under the lantern light. His blade staff hummed with deadly energy, the sound like a warning growl. "Step aside, Lyra," Kareth's voice was deep and cold. "By your father's command, the human is to be taken." Lyra's answer was a sudden slash of her weapon, forcing the soldiers back. "Over my dead body," she said, her voice sharp as the blade itself. Jack didn't wait. He dove to the side as Kareth advanced, his weapon striking the table in a burst of sparks. Lyra moved with speed Jack could barely follow, parrying each strike with precise, fluid motions. But there were too many soldiers, and they began to spread out, cutting off every exit. "Jack," Lyra called, her voice fierce. "Window now." Jack turned to the far wall where a tall, arched window overlooked the city. Without thinking, he grabbed a small metal device from the tabula portable line, hookhand, smashed the window with its handle. Shards of glass fell into the cold night air, glittering as they dropped toward the streets far below. Lyra kicked one soldier back, spun and slashed at another, then leaped toward Jack. She clipped the hook to the frame and threw her arm around his waist. "Hold on," she said, and then they were gun-swinging out into the open air.
Ow!
The wind tearing past them. The hook latched onto a nearby balcony, and they landed hard, rolling to their feet. No time to rest. Shouts echoed behind them as soldiers rushed to follow. They ran. The balcony led to a narrow walkway which opened onto the city's rooftops. Under the silver light of the twin moons, the city looked almost peaceful, but the chase was anything but. Lyra led the way, leaping from one roof to another, her movements graceful yet desperate. Jack followed as best he could, the gap between rooftops making his heart pound. Below them, the streets flashed with patrol lights and the hum of hovercraft. Engines grew louder. A blaster bolt scorched the roof beside him. He ducked, the heat brushing past his cheek. Lyra glanced back, her eyes narrowing. "Faster. Jack, they're right behind us." They reached a wider rooftop, but as they crossed it, a hovercraft rose suddenly into view, blocking their path. Its searchlights cut across them. A loudspeaker blared in the alien tongue. Lyra didn't hesitate. She sprinted toward the edge, vaulted onto the craft's side, and kicked the pilot through the open canopy. Jack scrambled after her, pulling himself inside just as another bolt of energy grazed the hull. She seized the controls, her hands moving over them with practiced ease. "Hold on," she warned. The hovercraft jerked forward, shooting between towers at breakneck speed. The wind roared in Jack's ears as they weaved through glowing bridges and narrow streets suspended high above the ground. Behind them, too, more crafts gave chase, their weapons firing in quick bursts. Lyra twisted the craft sharply. Ducking under an archway so low, Jack felt the top scrape overhead. "They'll try to drive us toward the lower docks," she said. "We can't let them too easy to trap us there." Jack spotted a narrow gap between 2 towers ahead. "There can we fit?" Her lips curved in a quick, fierce smile. "Watch me." She pushed the throttle, and the hovercraft shot forward, slipping through the gap with inches to spare. Pursuing crafts tried to follow, but one clipped the edge and spun out, crashing in a shower of sparks. Only one craft remained, still closing in. Lyra glanced at Jack. "We'll have to lose them in the underlanes. Once we go down there, there's no turning back." Jack gripped the side of the cockpit, his pulse steady despite the chaos. "Then we go down." Lyra's hands tightened on the controls. "Hold tight." The hovercraft tilted sharply, diving toward the shadowed streets far below into the dark veins of the alien city, where danger and safety could be the same thing. The hovercraft dropped into the underlane stark, twisting corridors between the lower levels of the alien city. The glowing towers above were gone, replaced by rusted metal walkways, leaking steam pipes, and shadowed arches. The air was heavy. Here, filled with the scent of oil and damp stone, Lyra guided the craft into a narrow tunnel, the hum of its engine echoing off the walls. The last pursuing craft didn't follow. The underlanes were too dangerous for most pilots. She slowed the speed, letting the craft hover in a patch of dim light. Jack took a deep breath, the first in what felt like hours. "We lost them," he said. "For now," Lyra replied, her voice low, almost unreadable. He studied her face in the faint glow of the controls. There was no fear in her eyes, only that same fierce determination, but something else too. Something she hadn't shown before. "Lyra," he said quietly, "I need to know why you really chose me. Not the bond, not the low, why me?" She kept her gaze forward for a moment, hands resting on the controls. Then she slowly turned to him. "'Cause I remember you, Jack. Not from today, not from this city years ago, when the fire of war touched my world." Jack frowned, trying to recall. "You were there?" "I was," she said, her voice softer now. "I saw you in the ruins of the market district. My people were trapped under a collapsed bridge, soldiers on both sides, firing without mercy. You should have left, but you didn't. You carried 2 children to safety, then went back for the third, even when the building above was falling. You looked at me once, just for a second, before running into the flames again." Jack felt a faint chill. The memory came back in pieces, the smell of smoke, the weight of the child in his arms, the sound of alien cries through the roar of fire. "I didn't know anyone was watching," he said quietly. "I was watching," Lyra replied. "And I knew that you were not like the others. You would fight for someone who was not yours, risk your life for a stranger. That is the kind of man I would bind myself to, no matter the cost." Jack shook his head slightly. "You've built all of this, risked all of this because of one day, one moment?" Her eyes locked on his, silver in the dim light. "One moment can change everything. And if my people take you from me, if they erase our bond, I will not survive in the life they have planned for me. They will own my body, but never my heart." The silence between them felt heavy, charged. Jack could feel the bond she spoke of, not just in the strange pull in his chest, but in the way her words stirred something deep inside him. "Lyra," he said slowly, "if we do this, if I stayed, your father will never stop hunting us." Her lips curved, not into a smile, but something fiercer. "Then let him hunt. As long as I'm with you, I will fight every day until my last breath." Jack met her gaze, and for the first time since this began, he wasn't thinking about escape, he was thinking about how to win. But before he could say more, a distant boom echoed through the underlanes. The hovercraft shuddered as a shockwave rolled through the tunnel. Lyra's expression hardened. "They found our trail," she said. "We have one chance to end this once and for all." Jack's pulse quickened, but his voice was steady. "Then we make our stand." She reached out, her hand brushing against his cheek, her eyes holding his in the dim light. "Whatever happens next, Jack, don't you dare die before me." Hum of the craft deepened as Lyra pushed the throttle forward, steering them toward the heart of the city where her father waited and where the final choice would be made. The hovercraft shot out of the underlanes and into the bright core of the alien city. Above them, the great spires glowed with golden light, and in the distance, the palace tower rose like a mountain of silver and crystal. Lyra's hands gripped the controls with unshaking resolve. Her eyes fixed on the place where her father waited. They landed hard on the palace's high platform, the craft skidding across the polished metal. Before the engines had fully powered down, armored guards surrounded them, weapons raised. Jack stepped out behind Lyra, his sidearm ready, the bond pulling at his chest like a silent heartbeat. The great doors opened, and there he was. Father, tall and commanding, his ceremonial robes flowing around him like living shadows. At his side stood Kareth, the enforcer, his blade staff gleaming. "Daughter?" Her father's voice rolled through the air like thunder. "Step away from the human. This ends now." Lyra's voice was steady, unafraid. "Yes, it ends, but not as you wish." Her father's gaze hardened. "You would defy your bloodline, your duty, for this." "For him," Lyra said simply. Jack could feel the tension ripple through the guards. They had expected a surrender, not a declaration of war. He stepped forward, his voice strong. She's not yours to command, not anymore. The king's eyes narrowed. Then you are both traitors. Kareth moved first, his blade slicing through the air toward Jack. Lyra's curved weapon met it in a shower of sparks. The sound of steel and energy clashing filled the platform as they fought, their movements fast and deadly. Guards rushed in. But Jack's training took over. He fired precise shots, forcing them back, covering Lyra as she fought Kareth blow for blow. The bond between them felt like a living thing, guiding their steps, making them move as one. A strike from Kareth nearly reached Jack, but Lyra intercepted it, twisting her blade and driving the enforcer back. "Stay with me," she called, her voice fierce. "I'm not going anywhere," Jack answered, firing again. The king raised his hand, and the guards hesitated, his voice cut through the chaos. "If you leave now, human, I will spare your life. Stay, and you will both die." Jack met Lyra's eyes, the answer already there. "We stay." Lyra turned her gaze back to her father. "Then hear me, if you kill him, you kill me. And if you kill me, the rival houses will burn your throne to the ground. The bond of the heart is not broken without consequence." The king studied them, his jaw tight. Around them, the air was thick with the heat of battle and the tension of a single choice. Finally, he lowered his hand. "Go," he said, the word sharp as a blade. "But do not return. If I see you again, no law will save you." Lyra didn't look back. She took Jack's hand, their fingers locking as they walked toward the hovercraft, the guards parting to let them pass. The bond's pull was stronger than ever, each step sealing it deeper. As the craft lifted into the sky, the city fell away beneath them. Jack glanced at Lyra, her silver eyes glowing against the dark horizon. "Where to now?" he asked, her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Anywhere, as long as we're together, and as long as no one else dares to love you." The stars opened before them, endless and waiting, as they vanished into the night.